your mother. It's time for another episode of Birds with Friends. Just a trio of feathery brethren weathering any season to see the Eagles eat teams like Scrammy's top with cheese. It's Philadelphia. Both and Zach kicking it cooler than 3 penguins till Zach runs off with his valet keys. He's a real nuanced goose. Pull up a branch, get loose. It's time for some juice on some Birds with Friends. The early bird gets the worm, but prefers getting turned like a turn on some Birds with Friends. Both and Zach coming at you with stats and things flapping their wings.
Statistics, they can be like bathing suits. What they, what.
Finish it up. Sometimes you gotta take them off.
What the hell?
What they show is revealing, but what they conceal is vital, right? So,
hello, everybody, and welcome to Craning Camp Day 2, Birds with Friends. Bo Wulf, Zach Berman, Marissa Dunn here. And, a couple episodes ago, we had the Ospreys as we said goodbye to a dear friend. And today, melancholy strikes again. We begin by saying goodbye to one of the greatest Eagles of all time, Zach. Ryan Kerrigan has retired.
Yes, although his last impression was the finest he ever looked in an Eagles uniform. 1.5 sacks, 2 tackles for a loss against Tom Brady and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. But yes, Ryan Kerrigan retires as a Washington football. I was going to say commander.
Let's see if you can get yourself into trouble here. Yeah.
No, but he never played for the Commanders.
He was never a commander. Yeah,
exactly. So that's why I was a little.
He was a football teamer.
Yes, he was a football.
What's your favorite regular season Ryan Kerrigan moment as an Eagle?
When I asked him about George Karlaftis, and he gave a great answer.
That's a good one.
Yes,
that was a good one. Too bad you didn't end up getting to use that. Mine was that one play where he had to jump to try to I don't know if it was a tipped ball or he was sort of in coverage. He had to jump, and it was like the kind of jump that I could make, where it was looked very unathletic.
A flex right there. Oh.
No, that is not a flex. That is the opposite of a flex. That's what it looked like. So,
by the way, I see some questions in the chat. I will take full responsibility. We are late because of me. Okay, not Marissa, not Bo. This was all because of me. I was working on our practice report today, and did not finish it by my self-imposed 3:00 deadline. Finished it at 3:02. So that is on me.
It's because you're a suburbs guy now. You're no longer.
But that's not the reason. Because even when I'm driving, I'm kind of ruminating about the different thoughts. It's more just making sure that I'm giving our subscribers something worth subscribing to. Right? You want to give insight and little. You want to throw in some quotes, some personal opinion in there. That's what I'm trying to do.
Do you feel less connected to the grid of the city, not living in the city anymore? Do you feel like you have less of a pulse of the average fan?
Well, no, because I think the average fan is from the greater area, but I definitely feel, I don't feel as much a fabric of the city anymore because I'm not there as frequently, but I'm still there a good amount, right? Let's not get this twisted. You can run into me. You can run into me at Pastificios. You can run into
Trail.
Me. Not as much the Schuylkill Trail, but throughout, throughout the city, you will see me this year. I promise.
Have you given any thought to potentially biking from your house to NovaCare?
I have, but there aren't as many bike trails, and I get a little worried in the roads. A car that's if someone's reading Bo's tweets and they're not paying attention, you got to be careful there. So.
Yeah, the guy who used to be on this podcast has always been properly fanatical about don't mess with the phone when you're driving. He's good about that. He sticks to it. Now that he's gone, all I do is I don't even look at the road anymore. I'm only tweeting as I drive, just to stick it to him.
I was in the car yesterday listening to him, and it was like an ex-lover, right? It was tough.
Oh, do tell. Go on.
All right, that's probably a bad analogy. No, it's like
well, that's literally the analogy I made at the beginning of that episode. But
yeah, it's like watching someone who leaves in free agency, right? So, how about that?
No. So, was it stirring those kind of ex-lover emotions in you?
I should not have opened up that Pandora's box. We got a practice to discuss here.
We're talking about practice.
By the way, I used that line in my Jalen Hurts story how this is a market that, to quote Allen Iverson, likes talking about practice.
Very nice. And they also used it in the Philadelphia episode of Players, I believe episode 8. I am very excited to watch the season finale, which I believe is available now. And I think that'll be my treat for myself tonight. Very excited. Okay. So, yes, we have the second practice to discuss in this episode of Birds with Friends. We'll have a Quactus report. Before we do that, though, I mean, we got to know what's going on from the man who may not live in the city anymore, but he's still got the pulse of the city. It still courses through his veins. Let's send it over to the Stone Cold Newsman, Zach Berman.
The Philadelphia Eagles practiced on Friday for 75 minutes, which is 17 minutes longer than their first session on Wednesday. This practice included some celebrities on the sideline, including former Broncos coach Vic Fangio, former Eagles wide receivers coach and current Maryland wide receivers coach Gunter Brewer.
Brewer.
The Eagles, we will discuss what happened in practice afterwards. So I will just give you, there's not many, there are not as many injuries to report you on. I see Bo and Marissa cracking up here. It's really the Eagles remain healthy, partly because of their 58-minute practice and their walkthrough yesterday, but they had Jason Kelce back on a limited basis. Fletcher Cox practices on a limited basis. And then in addition, we have you guys got to stop laughing here, okay? I'm gonna fight through here because I'm a pro. We have Carrick Weefall did not practice, and Zach Pascal continued to be absent or sidelined, I should say. He was on the sidelines. Zach Pascal said on social media that he has food poisoning and he would not wish that upon anybody. So those are your updates from practice as far as some news and notes, if you will. We discussed last time the players wearing the Guardian caps. Jason Kelce wanted to be a little bit more protected than simply the Guardian caps, so he actually wore bubble wrap on top of the Guardian caps. My 5-year-old son would have liked that. He really enjoys popping the bubble wrap. And then Lane Johnson said, that they don't feel awkward, but they look stupid. He said, I think it's goofy as bleep to look at. So that was Lane Johnson today. And then
Jason Kelce had a good quote with a curse word in it.
Yeah, should I say that? I think that's going a little viral. And Jason Kelce was talking
he
about,
thinks his own tweet is going viral. Big flex.
No, not the tweet, the quote. I wasn't the only person who tweeted it out.
Oh, okay.
In this city, he said, quote, in this city, it feels like every year the media thinks we're really good. We end up being shitty. And every year the media thinks we're going to be shitty. We end up being really good. And
you got to say you're going to curse. This is a family-friendly show.
Didn't you preface it just now by saying another curse?
I didn't know you were going to say it. It felt like a dare, but I guess you are committed to working blue. This is your new personality. Hard Edge Zach for 2022.
Our friend Ruben Frank had a story, I think it was last week, looking at the Eagles' history when their over/under is 9.5, and it's like every time they're 9.5, they've gone under it in recent years. So there is some credence to that. Jason Kelce wasn't suggesting that they're going to be bad this year because we think they're going to be good. He was simply saying that they need to put in the work. That this was that he's not kind of paying attention to everything, and this was a message he gave to the team. I don't know if it was today or recently.
All right.
What are you laughing at now, Bo?
Earlier on, I was laughing at. I can't even say this.
At Gunter Brewer?
No, I enjoy my Gunter Brewer. It was a comment. I can't. I'm losing it.
I don't know what's so funny here. I came to do a podcast and I see you I see you,
It's the second
Marissa.
practice in
it's-
camp, and I'm already exhausted. I got nothing left.
Yeah, it's like you're at a John Mulaney concert here. So
Ugh. Yeah, why don't you give us George Carlin's famous 7 words?
we don't need to do that. Let's talk practice. What were your observations? You can read mine in a few minutes on The Athletic, but I'm curious what jumped out.
Well, let's start with the overarching thing, which was that it seems pretty, Jason Kelce acknowledged this, that on day 1, it seemed like the offense got the better part of the defense. And on day 2, it seemed like the defense had the better part of the offense. Jalen Hurts threw an interception to Avonte Maddox, intended for Dallas Goedert. That was a nice rising play by Avonte Maddox, but it did seem to me like the defense was ahead of the offense today. And it was interesting. You always want to see when they're doing things differently than before or than they did on the day prior. And on day 1, it was nothing but 1s versus 1s, 2s versus 2s. Today, there was a session where it was first team offense against second team defense and vice versa. And even when it was first team offense against second team defense, it did not seem like the offense was having a great day. I mean, I feel like the keeping track of who wins the day between offense defense is a little bit like myopic and like too focused on the like individual day of camp. But I think it is also true to say that the offense was not as good today.
Yeah, so it's the age-old training camp question, right? Is it your offense or is it the defense?
That's correct.
Okay, I did not see the comment. I simply heard the laughter, but I don't know what that means. We cut a lot. I don't know what that means. Okay, but as I was saying, do you think this was more a byproduct of the offense playing poorly or the defense showing out?
Well, I sort of take Kelce's word for it, that he felt like the defense came out with like a little bit more energy today because they were bested on day 1. I think that's probably fair to say. And I think I didn't think Jalen Hurts was necessarily bad today, but he wasn't as sharp as he was on day 1. Would you agree?
Well, I definitely agree. I didn't think Jalen Hurts was sharp at all. And what I wrote in our practice observations was that I frankly expected more from the offense earlier this season. As Jason Kelce pointed out,
the second practice of training camp.
Well, no, let me finish here, Bo. Okay. As Jason Kelce pointed out, a question was posed about all these new additions, and he said, "Really, there's only one new addition for offense, right? It's simply AJ Brown. The offense is in the second year in this scheme. They basically have everyone back. They've added AJ Brown to the mix here. The defense is the unit that is making, in theory, more schematic adjustments. They have different players in different spots than they had a year ago. You would think that early on in camp, based on continuity, the offense would be crisper. Now, I will keep this in perspective. We saw a practice last year on a Saturday, I believe it was, when the offense was horrible. It was the worst I've ever seen them perform. It was like they couldn't complete a pass, right? This was not egregious. We've seen worse. But I thought that outside there was a crossing pattern to A.J. Brown from Jalen Hurts' left to his right. That was a nice play. I should have included that in the practice report as I'm thinking about it. But other than that,
that was nice.
Yeah, there were not many plays that I would say like, man, that was the play of the day.
I mean, that's fair. But also like, we're talking about like a 15 play sample basically. And like half of those plays were runs. Like it's just, you can't get too hot and bothered by it. It's like, it's a couple plays, and they're also like they're trying to.
Jalen still had like 15 passes, though. If you have
15 passes in team periods, I don't think that's right. Are you going by ESP's notes?
No, I mean I was just looking at like completion and completion. There was like 14 or 15 in there, and I know, but
there's like screens in there. It's they're working on things. You don't know if like part of the process is like does this play work against this defense? Like, it's hard to know.
Well, then the answer would be no. Then,
well, yeah, sure, but like I don't think it's necessarily like stock down Jalen Hurts today, as opposed to like, okay, they learned some things today that are going to be important.
Well, so I'm gonna push back here, and I'm gonna sound like Sheil, frankly. When there's
Let's
this.
Let's hear your Sheil impression.
No, I'm not doing a Sheil impression. I'm speaking like Zach, but there's this tendency this time of year to say, oh, don't make a big deal out of one practice. But then on the flip side, we're giving daily practice reports. By definition, what we're doing is making a big deal out of a given practice. We're not saying this is how they're going to be on the aggregate. But if we're doing a daily podcast about today's practice and the offense looked bad in today's practice, then it's perfectly reasonable to suggest then.
But we're also trying to contextualize what that means. And what that means does not have to be like, oh man, the offense is in trouble. We don't I don't know. The Eagles better start looking for that quarterback.
Yeah,
it could just I'm not saying that. The offense had a bad day today.
Yeah. So yeah, that's fair. But that's exactly what I'm saying is that if you're doing stock up, stock down, right? Like there are certain stocks that were down today, right?
Is it stock up or stork up? Stork up, stork down.
I mean, it's what is it? Stock up or stock down? Like, I don't know.
Marissa, how you doing?
I'm doing great. I've been on mute because I've been laughing too much. But I'm doing good.
Okay.
So anyways, but an interesting note that I actually something you mentioned ESP brought it up to me in the middle of practice, and I kind of downplayed it. But then as I was driving home, I thought more about it, and I said it is something that I need to mention, and that's Miles Sanders took snaps with the second team offense today, and I'm not suggesting this means there's going to be more of a timeshare. God bless you. Or that Miles Sanders isn't the top running back, but they seem to deliberately be getting Kenny Gainwell and Boston Scott work with the first team offense. What do you make out of that?
I hate to be the poo-poo guy, but I don't make much of it.
Nothing's a big deal today, right? It's
well, yes, it's the second day of training camp. I do think that nothing's a huge deal, but like they do this on defense too. Like it's Davion Taylor getting reps with TJ Edwards on the first team sometimes, and Kaiser White on the second team. Like that's not what's going to happen come the regular season. They want to test out these combinations. They probably want to see those guys with the ones. I suppose that it's notable because it's a difference than last year. Yes. It doesn't seem like that's what they did last year with the running backs. But I am curious. My expectation is that they're going to lean pretty heavily on Miles Sanders this year because it's the last year of his contract. You might as well, burn those treads while he's still under contract. But I guess it's notable in that it's something different. It's something worth asking about. But I don't expect that, Miles Sanders is not going to be, overtaken for the number one running back job if he's healthy at the start of the season.
I agree. And by the way, I think Miles has looked good this summer in the two sessions that we've seen. He's explosive.
Well, he bobbled a pass on day one. He still can't catch the ball.
No, but in terms of like you're looking for juice, you're looking for explosiveness from him. He has that, right? Like
I think Gainwell's looked pretty good.
Yeah, you wrote in your piece that appeared Monday in terms of the offensive players that he's the guy who can kind of take the biggest leap this year.
I think so. I mean, if you're just like talking about like defining it pedantically as like a big leap, like there's only so much better that a guy like Dallas Goedert or Devontae Smith can get. And I think with Gainwell, like it's clear that Nick Sirianni had a designated role for him based on the way he was used at the beginning of last season. And then some combination of he wasn't quite ready for that and the style of the offense changed meant that he was playing much less as the season went on. But I think that if, there's reason to expect that in year two for a guy who didn't play in 2020, opted out for COVID, that there's a reason to believe he could take a big jump.
Certainly something to monitor. Our daily Hassan Reddick watch.
And this time we have Jonathan Gannon quotes about it.
Yes. he rushed a little bit more than the other day, but he still dropped enough that it was apparent out there. And this is gonna be, if not the way they use him, they're certainly getting a look of him in this spot. What did you make of that today, and of what Gannon said?
Well, this is what one intrepid reporter asked Jonathan Gannon before practice. He said, following up on Hassan Reddick, in what situations? Well, I guess I'll let me backtrack. Let's read both things. The first question was from your boy ESP. He said, a player like Hassan Reddick, how do you balance the desire to have him drop back since he's done it versus just having him go after the quarterback? And Gannon said, yeah, good question. Gannon, I gave a lot of good questions today, I feel. Maybe 75%. He said, that's what I love about camp. We're in the process of figuring those things out, not just with Hassan, but everybody. It's a process that we take that, hey, let's see what we like, what we don't. This is what the guy is good at, what he's comfortable at, what we need him to do, what looks good, what does, what we want to add, what we want to throw away. It's just all a process and getting better every day. And so Zach, the intrepid reporter that he is, wants a little bit more clarification there. Let's get a little bit under the surface of that answer. He says, following up on that, in what situations would it be advantageous for him to drop in coverage as opposed to just going after the quarterback? And Gannon says, he's a really good cover guy.
Wait, by the way, decidedly not a good question in Jonathan's eyes.
Yeah. You know what? Maybe that's the tell. If he says good question, it's not a good question. If he doesn't say good question,
but
then that means he bristles a little bit. He's a really good cover guy, so sometimes that's a matchup driven thing. He knows that when he would be dropping, like all our overhang players, there was a reason why we do that. Flexibility within the defense, depending on what the offense does, that's the kind of spacing we want to play, and it helps his teammates win some one-on-one battles. So that's a process with all those guys that we are figuring out now. And I think that was on your radar, and I think the tweet that you had is about as harsh as you can get. For Zach Berman, it's basically like, this guy's a doofus. You said something to the effect of,
Jonathan,
anytime
if you are listening, I actually think you're a very bright guy, and I enjoy speaking to you. I do not think you're a doofus. Okay, go on, Bo.
Let's see. You tweeted Ryan Kerrigan is retiring from the NFL. You tweeted, asked specifically why the Eagles would drop H. Reddick into coverage. Gannon said, because he's good at it. The matchup could require it, and it could help his teammates. And then in parentheses, my take, just about any time Reddick isn't rushing the quarterback sounds like a win for the offense. I mean, you're running the guy out of town based on the subtext there.
I am not running him out of town. Simply, look, I am not an offensive coordinator in this league, but if I was game planning, if I'm using Shields' perspiration test, is that trademark?
Go ahead.
Is that what it is? Yeah. So what's going to make the opposing offensive coordinator perspire more? Hassan Reddick rushing the quarterback or Hassan Reddick covering your tight end, right? If you're who's the Lions? I mean, they no longer they have a new offensive coordinator this year. It's Ben Johnson is their offensive coordinator this year. So Ben Johnson,
the Canadian steroids guy.
No, not the Canadian steroids.
Oh.
No, they are former tight ends coach, Ben Johnson. And so if you're Ben Johnson and you're preparing for week 1, all right, do you want Hassan Reddick
up on those steroids?
Do you want Hassan Reddick coming around the edge and against Jared Goff, or do you want him chasing TJ Hawkinson? I would much rather have him chasing TJ Hawkinson than
if you're Ben Johnson, yeah.
If I'm Ben Johnson, yes. So
yeah, I mean, if I'm Ben Johnson, I'm much more concerned that I have one of the worst quarterbacks in the NFL. And I know that, you could be dropping in coverage against TJ Hawkinson and we'd be in trouble. However, the point is valid.
That quarterback has less of a chance of being hit if Hassan Reddick's in coverage, right? Like I would take my chances, in that situation. And by the way, if I'm up in that box and I'm Howie Roseman and I'm sitting next to Jeffrey Lurie, or sitting in the box with Jeffrey Lurie, and I said, I just gave this guy $15 million a year, but it's best for his teammates if he covers TJ Hawkinson. I would say, can't we get like a 5th round pick to do that? I mean, we don't need to pay someone $15 million a year to do that. So again, I don't want to make too much out of nothing. This is the time of year when you're trying different things, you're preparing, and there might be a play here or play there when he does need to drop in the coverage. based on a certain look. A guy goes into motion. But overall, if their plan is to do this, I think that's a poor plan. And if Jonathan asked me my opinion, I would tell him that. Jonathan's not asking me my opinion. But yeah, I do feel comfortable.
So you think I'm a doofus, huh?
Not at all. Not at all.
I totally agree.
I don't think I've ever used the word doofus, by the way. Have you?
Try it out. I mean, you have been using it. I used it twice this episode.
No,
already.
but outside of this podcast, have you ever used the word doofus in a conversation?
I'm sure that I have, because otherwise it wouldn't have come to me when I said it.
Sounds like something they would have said in Saved by the Bell when I was like 8 years old.
You Dorcas. I think you're exactly right. I mean, it's unrealistic to say that he should be rushing the passer every time he's on the field, right? Every time the opposition is dropping back to pass. But if he's doing that a third of the time, that's too much. Like he is their best pass rusher. They desperately need pass rushing. If you can't, to exactly what you just said, if you can't find somebody to do what he can do coverage wise, then what are we doing here? Like, let him go. So I think it's going to be a topic that's going to be something we talk about a lot this season. I think frustratingly so.
Now one Hassan Reddick nugget here. He is at 247 pounds now. When he was at the combine back in 2017, he was 237 pounds. When the Eagles list him at 240 pounds, he's up to 247. He said, make that change, NFL. In their on their media site. He likes this weight. He feels he can still move, but gives him a little more power in his bull rush. So it is something that he has been adding weight, and certainly something to monitor as well with Hassan Reddick. He's bigger than he's been in the past.
I've always found it difficult. I've never been a big like what does this guy weigh relative to like what the expectation should be for his position. Like I'm interested to know when a guy makes a change to his body and he's lighter or heavier than in the past. But if it's like you tell me that like this linebacker weighs 247, it's not internalized in my mind like where that stands relative to other players at his position. Are you like that?
Well, I actually don't like when there's like prototypes. A guy can't be under this weight or above this weight or
right.
this height or that. It'd be like, yeah, you have to look at a player for who he is, and there's there is data for body distribution. I do think there's validity to that, right? But not all 247 is created equal. What kind of 247 is it, right? So I would say, and Marissa,
247-pound Devontae Smith versus 247-pound Jordan Davis, two different animals.
Yeah, exactly. But you see offensive linemen after their playing days when they'll be able to drop like 120 pounds, right? Because
Bu Allen looking good these days.
Yeah, they probably didn't naturally. I'm sorry, their body wasn't meant to carry that type of weight originally. So, anyways, not all body distribution is equal.
That could be a drop.
That not all body distribution is equal.
That could be. I feel like we got a lot of good like drop opportunities these past couple episodes, and we're gonna have to like rework some stuff. We got to get that other guy out of the intro. So,
I wouldn't keep calling him the other guy. We can pay Shield respect. I mean, he
helped. We couldn't pay Shield. That's why he left.
He helped build this show. Well, no. I'm staying out of that conversation. I'm decidedly a company man here. Okay, but I have great respect for Shield, right? So I will say his name proudly and often.
Okay. Well, good for one of us. All right, let's take a little break, hear from our sponsors, and then we'll be back to talk some more Quackness Report.
Now a word from our sponsor, BetterHelp. How well would you take care of your car if you had to keep the same car your entire life? Well, that's how our brain works. So why don't we treat the brain the same way? How we care for our minds affect how we experience life. It's important to invest time and care into keeping your mind healthy. There are plenty of ways to support a healthy brain. You can learn a new language. You can take power naps. There's also BetterHelp online therapy. Therapy can be a positive experience for people from all walks of life, of all ages. No matter what you are going through, therapy can help you through it. BetterHelp is online therapy that offers video, phone, and even live chat only therapy sessions. So you don't have to see anyone on camera if you don't want to. You don't have to walk into an office and sit in the waiting room. Plus, it's much more affordable than in-person therapy. You can be matched with a therapist in under 48 hours. Our listeners get 10% off their first month at betterhelp.com/BWF. That's betterhelp.com/BWF.
All right, back on Birds with Friends. Bo, Zach, and Marissa. Speaking of brains, Dallas Goddard today said, you only get one brain. You might as well take care of it. I think that's a good
I would agree with that.
piece of advice.
Yes. There are different things you could do to strengthen your brain, your memory. Yeah, you should definitely do that.
Crossword puzzles. they
Wordle,
say.
you're a big Wordle guy.
Oh, I haven't done today's Wordle, actually. It's not
I'm a company man, by the way, mentioning Wordle here, right?
Yeah, well, I do the
Owned
New
by
York
the-
Times crossword puzzle.
There
That's
you
what
go.
I'm doing. Yeah.
Do you do the Sunday one?
I do. Yeah.
Good job.
I don't always finish it, but I try.
In pen or pencil?
Oh, no, on the app.
On the app. Gotcha.
I'm a company guy. Come on.
My grandfather does that in pen, right? Like that's confidence.
I do it in blood on my phone. So the thing is a whole mess. Marissa,
You're
Marissa's
cracking
as proud
yourself
as I
here.
am.
Yes.
I mean, it's like the Friday sillies for
Yeah,
sure.
total Friday sillies. And good
It's
news
a-
is we've got another practice tomorrow.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It doesn't feel like a Friday to me, right? Because we're back at practice tomorrow. So
It's every day is like a Monday for you.
I wish. I love Mondays.
Jeez.
That's a drop.
Anti Garfield over here.
No,
Mondays are terrible during the season. You get no sleep.
Mondays are full of opportunity, right? It's like you're the whole week's ahead of you. It's great.
You are a walking motivational poster. It's impressive.
Thank you.
It's very
all right.
impressive.
What else jumped out to you today from practice?
Well, I actually believe my report just went up. So I would say among the lottery ticket cornerbacks, which is what I call the late round undrafted guys last year, Mac McCain's the one who's jumping out so far, and I should frame it that way because I wrote in a story that appeared Wednesday, like training camp primer, that Kerry Vincent Jr. was the player I was going to watch, right? And it's still early in camp, but Mac McCain seems to be ahead of Vincent and of Tate Allen.
Well, this is
they get an
interesting.
interception today.
And this is to the point that we talked about on the last podcast, and I asked Gannon about it today, about just how there are only so many reps to go around at cornerback. I mean, if you just think about it, they go 3 deep for 3 teams, which is 9 spots, but they have 12 corners. And that means that they're constantly rotating these guys. And so on, Wednesday, the first day of practice, I think it was actually Gowan and Vincent who were getting more snaps with the second team. Today, it was McCain's opportunity, and he took advantage of that opportunity, to your point. He had a pass breakup and an interception, whereas Vincent was working with the third team. And what they had today that they didn't have on Wednesday was that developmental period at the end of practice where all of the undrafted guys got to get extra reps today, which they didn't get on Wednesday. But to your point, yes, McCain had a good day.
So I'm a little hesitant when I wrote this now, and I got to say my evaluation skills clearly are not very strong because this time last year I was saying Eric Wilson's really going to be a factor on this team.
Linebacker is I think the most difficult thing to judge during training camp.
But I like what I'm seeing from Kaiser White, right?
He's
I
active.
think he's active. He moves well. I wrote, and I believe this. He's like what they hoped that Davion Taylor would become, right? He's like that weak side linebacker who can move, who can cover. He had a sack today.
Davion Taylor had an interception.
He did. It was a deflected play.
It was McCain's deflection, right?
Yeah. Let's give credit to Mac here. But
you're trying to bury Davion Taylor. I'm just saying the guy was around the ball.
But Kaiser White's someone who has jumped out to me. The Avonte Maddox interception So you mentioned that he made a good leaping interception. Dallas Goedert said he wishes Jalen Hurts put a little more air on the ball, so Goddard could have caught it. But I think the Avonte Maddox.
Did he throw Hurts quite under the bus like that?
Yeah, you want to hear the quote? I mean, he didn't.
Yeah, give me the quote.
I'll give you the quote here.
I remember him saying that Avonte like jumped like he was 6 feet.
So he said, I'm pulling this up here. Okay. I know he is only 5'9", but he jumped like he's 6'5". He got up there. It was a great play by him. Kind of baited the quarterback. He took a couple steps up. I think he was guessing that I was going to be running the corner, and he made a good play on the ball. I wish it could have been a touch higher, so I could have caught it instead of him. But it's day 2 of camp. We'll get it right.
Okay, yeah, that's fair.
So he's in the Bo Wolf camp. It's day 2. Nothing we say.
No, according to you, he's in the we need a new quarterback camp. Like, I wish the wall could have been higher. Let's get another quarterback. Let me see how Carson Strong throws that bad boy.
It's the silent. But speaking of Carson Strong, we don't get to see much of him because
we saw less of him today than on day 1. And again, just in context of what changed from day 1 to day 2, or practice 1 to practice 2. On practice 1, Carson Strong did get some real team reps. It was weighted towards Reed Sinnett. Today, it was mostly all Reed Sinnett until the very end.
Exactly. So as I said, Reed Sinnett's kind of been the number 3 guy this so far in camp, but they had a developmental period at the end where Carson Strong had a 7-on-7. He was the quarterback in a 7-on-7 period. Made a nice pass down the left sideline to Britton Covey, and got to say, it was a strong. Carson Strong had a strong arm in that situation. Like he looked good there.
I remember we talked about this at the Senior Bowl. He throws it's a very lofted deep ball. He gets a lot of air under that bad boy. But that was a solid throw. It did not connect, and I thought that Josh Blackwell was actually in solid coverage, even though Covey got behind him. I mean, it is still way too early to have a camp crush, but you're looking for guys who just flash just a little bit here and there. Like who makes you go, oh, that was interesting. And in that developmental period, I liked what I saw from Mario Goodrich. He's on my radar. We're not even at the point of saying there's a leader in the clubhouse, but he did something that made me write some notes down. So
Clemson guy.
Yes. Mm-hmm. And of course, Mario Goodrich's Bizarro World counterpart, Wario Badpour.
You got to explain that to me.
What's to explain? Everything is opposite.
Oh, okay. Sorry about that. I was thinking there's like a player named Wario Badpour. So okay, now I understand it. If you recall,
we can break it down. Let's. No.
I get the joke. No, I get the
Wario.
joke.
You know the Mario Wario,
yes.
right?
Yeah.
So but why isn't that Luigi?
Well, it's you know what? Originally, I had thought that it might be Luigi, but Mario and Luigi are partners. They're buds. They're not, they're not bizarro versions of each other. Whereas Mario and Wario are. The opposite of good is bad, and the opposite of rich is poor. So that's why it's Wario Badpour. You could go like Luigi solid. What's like a synonym of rich? Luigi solid well-to-do.
Okay, but no, I have an honest question here, and I hope this doesn't make me sound like culturally ignorant here. But so I know Mario, I know Luigi. Who's Wario? I never heard of Wario.
Oh, see, this is the problem. Yeah, Wario is like his nemesis.
Okay, I did not know that. Is that something I should have known?
You see the M. I would say yes. I would say yes as a person of your age, probably. Okay. But I also, having known you as long as I have, I'm not surprised that you didn't know it.
There you go. I don't know if that's a compliment or an insult, but
no, you've displayed that you're singularly focused. If I was referencing somebody on the '93 Michigan Wolverines, then yeah, I would expect you to know.
I'm definitely not singularly focused, right? Like I I can talk to you about a lot of different topics. Just Mario and Luigi is not one of them.
Stocks.
Talked about many different
You
topics.
got any good stock tips these days? New York Times.
I would say read, the Sunday business section if you want any information there.
Okay.
Did you play Game Boy growing up, Zach?
I did. I love
The
Tetris.
chat wants to know.
Yeah, I love Tetris. I was really into Tetris. Yes. But I was I was really into reading books. I was really into watching SportsCenter. Yeah, I wasn't as much
There's
into
nothing
Mario
wrong with
Luigi. Yeah. All right, let's get back on track.
Okay. Anybody else stand out for you today? I think a second day in a row, you're looking for guys who are continuing to flash a little bit. Grant Calcaterra, another good day. He's getting open.
I'm waiting for you to say I told you so.
You didn't. I mean, he looks good.
Okay. I mean, if I recall, you and Shield killed that pick.
I don't. Maybe I'm wrong.
I was saying this.
Maybe
is
I'm wrong.
player.
I don't remember killing it as much as Shield did, but I'm willing to accept that if that's
It's a good thing we have an archive.
Yeah.
Yeah. Our listeners, do you recall what Bo's reaction was to them drafting Grant Calcaterra? In any event, Grant Calcaterra has looked good, and now he's a pass catching tight end, right? So I was gonna bring up the question: could he supplant Jack Stoll as the number 2 tight end? But the reality is they fill different roles. Like Stoll is your blocking tight end, and Grant Calcaterra is your pass catching tight end. It doesn't. It's not very good. It's not very good for. Probably for JJ, I think a Whiteside's chances of making.
I agree. Now, obviously, Tyree Jackson is on PUP. He had that December or early January torn ACL. My guess is they're going to carry him on PUP to start the season and not activate him. We don't, I don't know what his actual projected timetable is. Also, very important to remember for the real sickos that they changed the PUP rules this year, where it's not 6 games, but it's 4 games that you have to be carried. So all the more reason to expect that is where Tyree Jackson will land. But yeah, I think Calcaterra more is whether it's pushing Stoll, it's like whether they need to add somebody else or, carry a dick rod. And I feel like at this stage, it seems like they may not have to.
You ever called him Richard Rodgers, by the way? Just out of curiosity, have you ever called him? Yes.
Yeah, sure. And then I invented the name and it stuck. Let's look at our Grant Calcaterra grades just to be call ourselves on it. I gave it a C. Yeah. I said I understand the impulse to add a tight end, even though the Eagles managed to be the most efficient offense in the league in 12 personnel last season, with Jack Stoll taking the lion's share of the number 2 tight end reps. But while I trust the doctors who say Calcaterra's concussion history is not a concern moving forward, this feels like it has a chance to backfire. I mean, how much could a 6th-round pick really backfire, Bo? Calm down. I was partial to Michigan State's Connor Hayward among the tight ends on the board, even if he's more of an H-back. Leaving the secondary unaddressed made sense to some degree, as it may have given the Eagles a bargaining chip with undrafted free agents. Oh, that was a good call. They ended up signing 3 undrafted rookies at corner. Okay, solid write-up.
Chestnut checkers there, right?
Now, Zach, you must have given it an A, considering how much you think you gassed it up, right?
I forget my grade. What did I say?
What would constitute saying it's a good pick?
B.
You gave it a B-. A tight end with upside in the 6th round is often a sensible pick. However, there's major risk in taking someone whose concussion history prompted him to once retire from football. You worry about what would happen if that history continues in the NFL. He has a combination of production and traits, so at that point in the draft, there's a reason to take a swing. The risk variance is different than most situations, though. Okay, solid write-up. Yeah. But it's not exactly like you said they nailed this pick, so let's calm down, take it easy.
Okay, fair enough.
Okay,
fair enough. I just said I recall saying of the late round tight ends, he was the guy that I liked the most based on the way he played.
Okay,
yeah.
I'll give you my undrafted or my backup offensive line depth chart note of the day. In terms
Marissa's all over this one. She's nodding her head.
This is what I'm here for. Let's go.
This is the Marissa Dunn.
Yeah. All right.
Of the show. Of course, you will recall that on Wednesday, the first team had Cam Jurgens at center because Jason Kelce was not practicing. And with the second team, it was from left to right, Andre Dillard, Sua Opeta, Jack Anderson at center, Coyote Awashika at right guard, and Jack Driscoll at right tackle. Now, that's how they lined up in team drills today because Kelce did not participate in team drills. But in individual drills with the offensive line, the second team was Dillard, Opeta, Jurgens at center, Jack Anderson at right guard, and Driscoll at right tackle. So Anderson showing that flexibility center guard and bumping Coyote down to the third team. So just a little bit of a note on the pecking order of where Jack Anderson is relative to the rest of the backup offensive linemen.
And of course, Jack Anderson was drafted last year. Coyote Awashika was not drafted last year. So
But not by the Eagles.
Not by the Eagles, no. But just from a sense of maybe how he was viewed around the league, right?
Sure. Anything else?
No, I mean, I'm looking here.
James Bradbury had a pass breakup today.
So I was talking to Hassan Reddick when Bradbury talked after practice. Were you able to? No, I think you were talking to somebody else.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. I thought Gannon gave a good answer about the practice schedule. Right?
You're trying to just walk back the doofus thing. You're going to look for a way to gas him up.
No, I mean, trust me. I think of the people on this podcast, I probably gassed up Gannon more than anyone else.
He was nominated for the Zach Stovbird of the Year, of course. Osprey nominated,
yeah. No, but he said that his point, and I think of all of us, Marissa can probably nod her head when she hears this. Says
it's good for the audio medium aspect of this.
Yes. You don't see the walkthroughs and the hours of meetings that these guys go through in the film study and the film session. Our guys will be ready to go with the schedule, and I actually think they'll be more ready to go this year. And I bring that up because we are focusing on the parts of training camp that we personally see them, like when they're on the field. But so much of training camp happens in the meeting rooms. You know, they're there late at nights. The hours are different in training camp than they are during the season. So the Eagles say that they're doing a lot that goes beyond the on-field work. The on-field work would cause more injuries, but in their opinion, they're doing more to prepare their players for the season. So anyways, I thought that was something from Gannon. That was an interesting explanation here.
Would you say that you are internally nodding your head, Marissa?
Yes.
Okay.
For all the audio listeners, head nod.
Are the hours considerably different during training camp?
I would say pretty much, yeah. I think they're about, 12, 13-hour days, 14-hour days. Michael's been staying in the hotel, actually, so I haven't even seen him because, to focus. So I would definitely agree with that statement.
Which is probably a good idea because the Ospreys might be on in the background while he's studying the playbook. Yeah.
Because he's watching them probably.
Yeah.
I have a question for you, Zach.
Fire away.
2 days, only 2 days of practice. Nothing to get too upset about.
As you told us. Yes.
But not nary a Devontae Smith moment through 2 days of camp. Is that on your radar at all? That is there a chance that we're not getting enough Devontae Smith that his season will leave us wanting?
No, it would really surprise me if that was the case. I think Devontae's if I was making a list of players I was most concerned about, the players I was least concerned about, Devontae Smith would be near the bottom of that list.
Okay. I don't disagree. Would you agree that he has not done anything over the first 2 days of practice?
He hasn't done much. I would agree with that. Yeah, okay. At least in team drills, right? I mean, he's smooth in individual drills. You're over watching the linemen. So if you watch individual drills, you just see how natural of a pass catcher he is.
Okay.
I asked Avonte yesterday, just trying to get some color in these stories. I asked him what his the most fun thing he did this summer was. And what do you think he said?
Watching the Ospreys?
No. Playing Call of Duty.
Okay. Do you think the Eagles are going to have to put it in his contract that he has to study the tape for 4 hours a week?
No, I don't. Devontae's an early riser. He's there early in the morning. So
yeah, it's always tough. Like Jalen Hurts and AJ Brown saying that they get there first. Like, is that a shot? Is that a shot at Devontae Smith? I think we all expect that Devontae Smith's there early and often, but guys have been describing Marcus Epps as nobody works harder than Marcus Epps, but that means that you're taking a shot. It's not only one person can be the hardest working.
So I'm actually curious as you say this because you and I have different work hour habits, right? You're working through the middle of the night guy. I'm a get up early and work guy, right? So if someone was doing a story on us, which one sounds more impressive? This guy's working on his stories until 3 a.m. in the morning, or this guy's up at 5 a.m. working on his stories?
I think
Marissa, you chime in.
I think yours sounds much more impressive.
No.
I think you both are very hardworking in different ways, different hours of the day.
Different
so
hours.
it can both be commended. Yeah.
Between the two of us, one is always working at every hour of the day. No,
exactly.
I think yours sounds better. You're invigorated by it. I'm like,
no, you're the
done
but
at the last second. But.
No, you're great throughout the night, as we've seen on these podcasts, right? Like I have trouble functioning after some of these Monday night games, and
maybe we owe you another early morning pod at some point.
I would love that, but we haven't done an early morning pod yet. We've done like 9 a.m. That's not early morning.
Didn't we do one early one?
It was 9 a.m. Yeah, that's not.
I thought we did like a 7 a.m. We didn't.
No, I think we did like 9. Yeah, it was the earliest. Yeah,
right.
it was early for you.
But I don't want to put that on Marissa either.
I mean, I'm down for it.
Yeah, give me a 5 a.m. pod, and I'm all over that. Yep.
Oof! I was up at 5 with Jane today. That woman needs to be. She's just all over the place. She's just like totally running the house, and just what a wild woman. So,
we did get a question in the chat that I thought was interesting because we did touch on this in the beginning during the laughing portion of the pod. Is Vic Fangio a consultant for the Eagles this season?
Good question. So not that I know formally. I mean, this is the time of year when you see kind of coaches who might be between jobs come to visit camp. I vividly recall Mike McCoy coming to a camp. I think it was last
2 years in a row.
Yeah. So
John Fox.
Yes. Exactly. So from my end, and you saw last year, for instance, Doug Peterson made his camp tour. He was at Chicago's camp. He was at Indianapolis's camp. So from my understanding, and I'll get clarification here, but I think he was just visiting. I don't.
He wasn't wearing any gear. He wasn't there the other day.
Yeah.
I doubt it's an official capacity. He's also getting paid by the Broncos not to work, right? So there's not really much incentive. But if you were Jeffrey Lurie and Vic Fangio came into your office today after practice and said, I'm willing to be your defensive coordinator if you fire Jonathan Gannon, what would you say?
I would say that's a poor way to run a staff if you would do that. So, no, I mean, look, you built this around Gannon, but I would, Vic Fangio, I would try to get him into the building. I mean, I think that, that would be some power play, by the way, for him to do that.
Yeah,
fire this guy.
If you were Jeffrey Lurie and you could flip a switch, and it wasn't quite so messy that you could just have Vic Fangio be your defensive coordinator today.
Look, I got to say this. Gannon was one of the reasons why he hired Sirianni, right? Sirianni came to the interview saying, I could bring this guy, Jonathan Gannon.
Yeah, but that's because Fangio had a job.
That's true. Yeah, I mean, Vic Fangio is a very accomplished defensive coordinator. So if things were equal, that's probably something you'd have to consider. But it's such an odd hypothetical to ask. I don't.
What if Fangio said, I will do it, and you can keep Gannon, but you have to fire Shane Steichen and make Pat Shurmur the offensive coordinator?
That would be an even odder request. I mean,
would you rather?
Jeffrey Lurie does love him some Pat Shurmur, right? So yeah. So I mean he might be interested in that one. But Steichen's the play caller, and Hurts is the same play caller 2 years in a row.
That's true. You don't want to take away that little nugget that Hurts has, that it's the first time since high school he's had the same play caller 2 years
since
in a row.
He was 16.
Yeah, but think about what Pat Shurmur could do with a talent like that.
So what else is on your mind, Bo?
I think that's about it. Looking through my notes. Wild Bill Dunkel, undrafted offensive lineman, was leading the way downfield on a screen today, rocking and rolling and rumbling.
You like what you saw there?
Wrote that down. Yeah.
What'd you make of Jalen Reagor today?
The same that I've seen from him in the past. Not a lot to be inspired by. I mean, the guy's had a tough road, no doubt about it. And you feel for him. But, yeah, I'm not – the player does not do much for me. How about you?
How about Gardner Minshew? What do you make of the way he's performing?
I thought he was good on day one and not as good today, similar to Jalen Hurts. What about you?
Yeah, I would.
You're asking like leading questions. I feel like you have your own opinion.
There's literally nothing leading about these questions. How do you think so and so is playing? I'm not leading. I'm simply getting your opinion in front of an audience of X amount of people.
How about Jordan Davis? We haven't talked to any Jordan Davis.
Yeah, so
I mean, it's tough to tell.
I watch a lot of Jordan Davis, and he's playing the way he did at Georgia. They haven't run the ball that much, right? Like, so you don't really get to see how he is in terms of run fits. They ran the ball a little more today than they did yesterday. But as far as him, I'm reading this on the screen. Shield did indeed hate the pick. Bo mostly joked about horses and Mustangs, but was fine with it. Zach defended the pick. Okay.
You did call him Calcutta.
Yes, I did. No, I think I said I had an interview where I called him Calcutta.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Because I called him Grant, and you said you're on a first name basis, and I said I just did an interview with Derek Gunn, and I called him Calcutta. So I said I'm going with Grant. So Jordan Davis. I mean, look, he occupies blockers. I can say that. Hasn't done much in terms of penetration so far, but the movement is there. And right, like I thought Jason Kelce. I thought Jason Kelce gave good insight today. Jason Kelce said, like, you see a guy who's 6'6", 340, runs a 4.7. You think that he should be good at football. But what's jumped out to Kelce is the way Davis is during walkthroughs, that he's not going through the motions. He's doing everything that he's supposed to do. He has the big bug eyes.
The bug eyes.
Yes. And he says when someone has that during. Of course,
Bug Eyes, a very good song by Mountjoy. Go ahead.
Yeah. So he says when someone has that during walkthroughs, you know this person's like really into it. He's not just kind of getting through to the end of the walkthrough. And look, from your first round pick, someone who has like the tools in the body, as we talked about in during the draft week, you want to see that side of it. And from indications so far, he has that early on.
I thought that answer from Kelce was like such a good example of why he's going to be like an excellent media personality in whatever he wants to do. Like his description of that was so good.
Mm-hmm. I agree.
Yeah. So maybe he can replace Shield.
I mean, that would be great for ratings. I bet if we had Jason Kelce as a regular guest.
It reminds me of a very embarrassing moment where before his final season, I think over the summer before his final season, Chris Long had mentioned like publicly or something that he had an idea that he wanted to do. He wanted to start a podcast when he stopped playing, and I went over to him in the locker room and told him, I think if you wanted to, like, we could probably do that at the Athletic. Like, you could do the podcast with us. He's like, I've already got something lined up. It's like, okay, sorry.
You shot your shot, right?
It would have been good.
Yeah. You don't know if you don't ask.
Yeah.
That's
back to your live looking live at your guma.
I don't know what that term means.
What? No way, Zach. Did you watch The Sopranos?
Yeah, I did.
Google.
Okay.
It.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Okay. All right.
A little mashed potatoes.
Yes. Okay. All right. I see now.
Okay. All right. Well, tidy 1 hour, just about as long as an Eagles practice. That'll be good for us. We'll be back tomorrow at some point following Saturday's practice, maybe a little bit earlier in the afternoon, so that MD can get to that Browns practice, and away we go. Day three, typically when you learn a lot more about the team. I feel, that's when it's 3 days and you can really make sweeping judgments about the course of the season.
I'm curious, when will your observations start to matter?
The observations matter, but it's all part of a larger puzzle. It's all part of a larger picture. It's like you stack the days. You're going to get better. You don't become a good team in one day. You got to stack the days.
You're right.
Okay. All right. Well, make sure you read Zach's written observations on today's practice. We'll be back again tomorrow, as we said. And for Elijah and Marissa and Zach, I'm Bo. Thanks for listening. We'll talk to you tomorrow. And as always, we love you.